Welcome, Solara here. I hope you guys are doing well. Happy New Year to those of you who celebrate. We're about 7 days into this new year, into 2025. So I hope that the first few years of this year have been treating you well so far. It is a big year of transition. We're going to get into it with a little bit of the downloads I've been having. But before I even begin, I want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for all of your support, even in the midst of my having to slow down and my recording schedule being a little bit erratic here. As I've already said in my video from last week, that if you want to connect with me on a daily basis, you can do so on my platform solara.xyz. It's going to be properly and fully launched in the spring, in the what many of us would call the official new year, but for now it is up and I am on there every single day. There are free offerings there. You get, if you sign up, you get Daily Alchemy sent to you directly into your inbox every single morning, as well as the option to join me on other tiers, and that is just the beginning of what's going to be there on solara.xyz. So please stay tuned for exciting new updates and opportunities there, not just for me but for us all, because my dream and my vision for the space is to create an online New Earth community where we support one another in our growth, and to kind of, provide a launching pad for those of you who are ready to put your work out there into the world, into an audience, but you don't really vibe with these other social media outlets, or you want a little bit of a cushion before you put yourself out into the greater, wider landscape of social media. The whole point of everything I do, from my personal, readings with people, my one-to-one soul recovery sessions with people, and my group sessions, and my platform, is to create a safe space for you to bloom. Okay, because so many of us did not have that. We have not reached our potential yet, because we did not have a safe space to be who we are, a safe space to create, a safe space to express. And this is of the utmost importance in this new age of Aquarius. It's of the utmost importance for you, for me, for our individual spiritual, mental, emotional, and material health, as well as the health of the collective. So please stay tuned for everything that will be rolling forth. I'm very excited about the initiatives and the protocols I have and I'm planning behind the scenes for that platform, for myself as well as for you guys. Okay, so I've been getting a lot of rapid fire downloads. I'm going to get into those. I have a few more announcements, but I'll get into them when I shift into the reading. And for now, I just want to get into the downloads, and also just say a big thank you to all of you for all of your support across the years. This is my second year here on YouTube, on this channel, and well, my third year technically, I guess. Yeah, this would be the introduction of my third year here. So I'm excited for what for the evolution of this channel, of my work, of seeing more of you out there, supporting you in your creative endeavors too. So let's get into it. So there's been a lot of fuckery. There's always a lot of fuckery. I try my best not to focus on the fuckery per se, in so much as not to give too much attention to it, but to still recognize it in helping us to transcend above it. And there has been a lot of fuckery. I was talking to a few people on my platform on Friday, when I released, I think it may have been a Daily Alchemy or something that I wrote about the energy of now. And so many people were coming to me and they were talking to me about the various attacks that they'd been through in the Christmas season. And I myself went through a few too. And what I've noticed about them is that they're becoming so obvious you know. And that's the thing about magic, quote unquote, is a lot of the time once you begin to see it, it loses its power. It's like, the Wizard of Oz, when he's revealed behind the curtain, there's no more fear about who he is because he's shown his true hand. And so that's definitely an energy that a lot of us are going through. I will always tell you guys, I don't like to beat around the bush. I don't like to give false hope. I will always say that these beings, these energies, these entities, they're not going to stop anytime soon. And it's not really about them stopping, because the whole point of what they're here to do on your ascension journey is to help you level the fuck up, because you are more powerful than them. You're more powerful than any fucking attack. You're more powerful than any projection. You're more powerful than any spell. You're even more fucking powerful than any chemical they can try to put into your fields. That's the fucking truth. The only reason why we succumb to a lot of this stuff is because we believe that these external energies that enter into our peace are more powerful than us. And because we are that powerful, what we believe we create. And so we allow these things to overtake us. Unconsciously we do it, but we do, because that's how powerful our consciousness is. Okay, so I'm going to get into some of the downloads I've been having. There's a bit of a midge-modge, is that a word? Mix-modge? I forget the word. You know what I'm saying. You know what the fuck I'm saying. Anyway, hodgepodge. I think that's the word. There's a hodgepodge of downloads here, but somehow I think they all connect. I thought about doing, a whole bunch of separate videos, and we'll see. Maybe I will, because you guys know, if you've been with me for a minute, I can be verbose, right? So maybe I'll do some separate ones, but let's see how it goes for now. So this is a download that was coming through a few days ago. So this year is your gateway year. This year is your gateway year. It's a year of passage. And I believe the first day of the year was a number 11 year, another number 11 day. That's what helped me to see this. So, the beauty of the number 9, I've always had a bit of an obsession with the number 9, 1844 on my clock. I've always had a bit of an obsession with the number 9 as a bit of a nerd. Okay, so, I'm on the spectrum, so I've always had these little idiosyncrasies, I guess you could call them, with some tics, some habits, some compulsions I had when it came to counting things when I was a child. And I didn't know, that was part of it. I really didn't. I didn't know. I wasn't diagnosed as a kid. I was dismissed as being a problem. Even though I was very quiet, I was dismissed as being lazy in the schooling system because I didn't excel in academics as a kid. And part of that was because of a lot of bullying also, both in the home from siblings, parents, as well as in the schooling system from students and teachers, because children will always follow their authorities. The authority figures set the temperature for how other children are treated. And so that in and of itself created, made me very timid, within most social situations, etc. And I struggled. I struggled everywhere I went. I struggled a great deal of my life until I began to realize why all of this stuff was happening to me. So I say all of that because I had a bit of I had a very active internal world as a child in order to escape all of the external fuckery that was constantly being placed upon me, both in very obvious and overt ways, and then in invisible and covert ways, because I am a medium and I was constantly being, ambushed with a lot of energies and not having no idea that's what it was, and having no real guardianship or mentorship in that area. And then on top of it, having a lot of abusive adults that were teaching children to also be abusive towards me, and to further, create the energy where these lower resonating entities could have a field day with me. So Anyway, I had a very rich internal world because of that, and one of the things I used to love to do was to add up numbers very, very rapidly. So I'm crap at math. Don't ask me how to do like high level things like fucking calculus. I'm okay with algebra. I like algebra because it kind of has that, like that puzzle effect to it. That kind of it kind of my Virgo likes that kind of energy, but I'm rubbish with like higher level math, but I'm really good at mental arithmetic. And the beautiful thing about the number 9 is that whatever you add to the number 9, it's the same thing. 9 acts almost like a 0. So, like numerologically speaking, this year is a number 9, and it's doing a lot of things simultaneously in its power. Because on the one hand, 9 is a number of solitude, of being alone, and it's a number of endings. But because 9 kind of works like a 0 energy, it also is a grand portal, which brings me back to this download, right? So we kicked off the year on the 1st of January, 1-1 energy, that's the 1-1 gate, right? And because the 1-1 with the 9, that's an 11, right? Or if you break it down to a 2, you can break it down to a 2, but when you add up the 1 plus the 1 plus the 2 plus the 0 plus the 2 plus the 5, it gives you an 11. Okay, so we opened up this year with a gateway energy, and very importantly, an Aquarian gateway. Okay, so number 11 is astrologically connected to Aquarius. Number 11 is also, if you look at it from the standpoint of the tarot, it's a Libran energy, which means that Libra, Libra is the Justice card. The number 11 card of the tarot is the Justice card. And I have been talking to you guys about entering into your justice timelines. This is a year, it began at the end of 2024, where our justice timelines began to open in preparation for what 2025 is, with this very powerful number 9 energy that also works like a 0. And if you know anything about the 0 energy, it's the 0 point. It's what returns us back to the beginning, or it's what puts us into the void of infinite possibility. So this is a very, very powerful year. Okay, so what I have down here is that it's a year of passage. It's a year of like a rite of passage. And I was listening to something, I forget what I was watching, and this line really stuck out. And my guides are like, write it down, it's to do with this. And someone was saying the path to paradise. I think I was watching John Wick. The path to paradise begins in hell. The path to paradise begins in hell. And for me, I think very much in alignment with numbers, tarot, astrology, energy, emotions. I'm always thinking along those lines. And so the minute I heard that the path to paradise begins in hell, I immediately said that's Scorpio energy right there, because Scorpio is the gatekeeper into both heaven and hell, or heavenly and hellish experiences, or what we call paradise and hell. We enter that. We get permission into those states through Scorpio, because those states are entered through the mastery of our emotions, right? So as a holographic being who is creating your own reality, you just have to think something and then charge it with a certain emotion to bring it into reality. It's the thought energy, the mental energy, married to the charge of the emotional energy that pulls in the thing, the timeline that matches the marriage of the thought and the feeling. And so Scorpio is the second water sign on the zodiac wheel. It's the fixed water sign of the zodiac wheel. And it's where we learn how to utilize our emotions to travel into different states and timelines, to bring in different timelines in accordance with how we utilize the emotional part of our consciousness. The emotion is what magnetizes. The thought sends out, the emotion pulls in. The thought sends out, the emotion pulls in. So if you're sending out a thought and the emotion doesn't match what the thought is saying, the emotion can't magnetize anything but what the emotion is. The emotion will overwrite the thought, which is why so oftentimes we have issues when we're desiring to bring forth something into material reality, because we think it, right? Oh yes, this is what I want. On a conscious level, this is what I want. But the subconscious programming within our fields, which resides in our emotional bodies, will overwrite that, because so we say, oh, I want to be a YouTuber, right? And then this is the thought, right? This is the desire, this is the goal. And then all of a sudden, all of the doubt and the emotions based upon programming and, experiences where maybe you've been told you can't do that, shut up, sit in the corner, your voice isn't important, all manner of things, all manner of ways you've been made to feel like your voice is of no significance, and the effect that it had in how you internalize those experiences is actually what comes up over the thought and the desire, oh, I want to be a YouTuber. And that's what pushes that out of the fields. That's what keeps so many of us like wanting things on a conscious and a mental level and not able to pull them in, and then sitting in deeper levels of suffering, because then that reaffirms a lot of the abusive narratives that we've been programmed under, where we've been told that we can't achieve certain things. So Scorpio is where we learn how to put to death those old stories in order to rise like the phoenix into a newer and truer representation of who we actually are. And so in this way, Scorpio shows us the beauty and the power of alchemy, and how we're able to be alchemists to rise into the truth of who we are and access higher timelines. It is why in Scorpio season, they do a lot of their spiritual black market fuckery, where they want to target us emotionally so that we miss certain milestones and timelines that are based upon the 888 solar codes that have come out a few months before, and that we have created intention around. So we take those 888 codes and we make intention around it, and then everything comes in to attack us, to stop us from actually materializing that. And a lot of that energy will reach a very high intensity, a high peak of attack in Scorpio season, because the spiritual black market is running rampant, and they didn't want you accessing the higher emotion you needed to access your higher timelines, because when you access your higher timelines, you raise your frequency, which raises the Earth's frequency, which makes their magic of controlling other beings, it nullifies it. And furthermore, those assholes who've been keeping you in a lower frequency to destiny swap and to take your gifts, or to have access to your gifts. And please know, they may have access to your gifts, but it's still limited access to your gifts. Okay, so no matter how much a person has destiny swapped you, please know that is but a small percentage of who you are. They can't access the whole cake. They can only steal a slice, but they're so low on the rung that slice seems huge, and you've been made to feel so small that when you look at them with that slice, you think it's everything, but really you have the keys to the whole cake. And the only way that they can keep on making you and the world think that the slice they've stolen from you is so delectable is by keeping you from accessing the whole cake and rising up in your resplendence and showcasing yourself in that whole cake energy, which puts what they've done to shame. Okay, so this is another message that was coming through, that 2025 will be a year that you surprise and you shock yourself. 2025 will be a year that you surprise and shock yourself. I'm going to say it one more time for the power of 3. 2025 will be a year that you surprise and shock yourself. And why is that? Because you have been looking in the mirror, in the proverbial mirror, and you haven't even begun to touch the surface of your glory, the surface of your power, the surface of your beauty, your charisma, your magnetism, your creativity. It was locked away because for as long as you were, living beneath your value and stuck in these lower vibrational realities, based upon the wounding and the programming that you were forced into, you weren't even able to touch the surface of your divine glow, you know. And 2025, for one thing, that 1-1 energy of the new year, that 11 energy, that gateway energy that opened the year, is the opening of a portal. And again, we have continued confirmation of that, with it being a number 9 year, meaning that the 9 again is a 0 energy. It's a 0 energy. There's no mistake. These people like to work in ways where they can do things that when you take them apart, it makes sense. And then they like to make fun of you because they know these things and you don't know them, right? This is what their societies are about. Their societies, their orders, their secret factions that they initiate other beings into, that are oftentimes lower consciousness beings and are easily swayed by greed. This is what these initiations are about. They're about sharing with them the secret knowledge that they have, that actually lives and resides within you, because they've done stolen it from you, right? They then gagged you, blinded you, put you in a cell so that you can't access it. And then in that cell, they programmed you to think that you're stupid, or that you're worthless and you're this and you're that. Meanwhile, they're hacking into your information and they're using it against you with lower consciousness beings that are laughing in your face. Ha ha ha. Look at what we know and you don't know. And this is how we get to move in the world in higher places. And you stay stuck because we know these things that you don't know. Right? So the number 9, if you look at it, 9 is a 0 with a 1. If you move the tail of the 9 and put it in the center, it kind of looks like a lollipop, right? So it's a 0 and a 1, and what comes next is 10 is a 1 and a 0, which is binary. That's the stuff of all creation. That's what creates the algorithm on the computer, which is the algorithm that mimics how the universe works, right? So the 9 is already showing you the 0 and the potential for 1 are already in marriage together, and based upon how you utilize the power and the frequency of 9 is what you'll bring forth through the 10. Because the 10 is the 0 and the 1. The 0 is the infinite potential, the void where all infinite potential lies, and the 1 is what you pull out of that. Okay, so the 9 is where you begin to form what it is that you're pulling out of the void. So it's an energy that sets a foundation for what you're bringing forth, especially for the next 9 years a lot of the time. So a lot of us have ended grand 9-year cycles. Think back on your 2016, because whatever happened in 2016 formed the major themes that went on in your life. In 2016 formed a lot of what it was that you then had to live through, for better or for worse, up until now. And so now we're back again, and we are at another foundational year, and we have this gateway energy that has opened a portal and a void for infinite potential, but infinite potential can only be tapped by infinite beings, or beings who have reconnected with their own multidimensional and infinite potential, right? So again, I'm going to go back. So the path to paradise begins in hell. Not for nothing, 2024 was a Scorpio and a Leo year. So it's very, very interesting, because like I said before, that statement, the path to paradise begins in hell, it just really made me think of scorpionic energy. And then I started to, do the computing and the pattern recognition and all that stuff. And I realized, oh, wait a minute, the path to paradise begins in hell. We're going through a passageway into, it's a gateway year. We're going through a passage to create a whole new foundation and reality. And that was set off by what occurred in 2024, which actually was a Scorpio year. Because 2024 was a number 8 year, and 8 is connected to Leo in the tarot, but astrologically it's scorpionic in nature. So 2024 was helping us to alchemize what we needed to alchemize in order to be able to set a new foundation for ourselves. And because of where we are in ascension, it's not just for ourselves, it's for the earth. This is the year where, 11, 1, 1, gateway, 11. That's, like I said, an Aquarian number. This is the year where we are setting up the material foundations that are going to build. We're going to build the cycles of the new earth in this age of Aquarius in very real ways. So in 2025, you have the ability to access paradise. And not for nothing, 2025 and 2024 together facilitate a traveling into things. So Scorpio and Sagittarius energy, and then for those of you who are into 13 signs and recognize a fucus that comes between Scorpio and Sagittarius, those 3 signs are about the deep journeys into the abyss. But not only the journeys into the abyss, they are how we quantum jump and timeline jump. Those are the 3 signs that really facilitate our ability to do that and teach us how to do that in very real ways. This is the reason why Sagittarius is very connected to travel. In regular Western astrology, they're very surface a lot of the time in the ways they deal with these energies, and they say, Sagittarius likes to travel. Oh my gosh, I'm looking out my window and Venus is shining in on me. That's so cool. Hey Venus, what's up? She's in Pisces. Oh, hello. Oh my goodness, she just twinkled at me. Venus is in Pisces astrologically, but astronomically, if I were to use my Skyview app right now, you would see that she's in Aries. So she's just popping in to say hello. This is the second night in the row I've been sitting here at my computer doing work, and I've looked to the side and Venus is just there like saying, hey girl, hey. So anyway, I got distracted. It's hard not to get distracted by Venus, right? For those of you who don't know, like Venus is one of the brightest stars, or she appears to be a star right now, one of the brightest stars in the sky right now, and she rises as the sun sets presently. So if you are out and about and the sky is clear and you see a very bright star, a bigger star than the others, that might just be Venus. And on Friday she was right above the crescent moon, and it was so beautiful because the moon was in Pisces astrologically, in Aries astronomically, so they met together on Friday, and I got to see that too. But anyway, where was I? The shallow interpretation of the zodiac's signs and what they do in Western astrology. So in Western astrology, they like to say, Sagittarius likes to travel. You might like to travel. You might like to go on a plane. You might like to go to different places. You might be adventurous and yada, yada, yada. But it's so much deeper than that. Sagittarius is a traveler because Sagittarius literally helps you to align to your true organic frequency. And when you rise into your true frequency as a divine being, then you begin to get access to the places that your frequency aligns with. So the travel that Sagittarius introduces you to is so much bigger than what you do on the material planes. It's actually how you're able to timeline jump into other quantum experiences. It's how in some ways you might be able to teleport. You get what I'm saying? It would be through the wisdom and the medicine and the magic of Sagittarius. Okay, so yeah, you know what? We're 28 minutes in. I think I'm going to do this as one reading, and then I'm going to do another reading for the other downloads. But it's all going to be interconnected. So if you're vibing with this reading, you might want to check out the other one. So the one that I will be, the reading that will follow up to this one. So let's get some messages for this gateway energy and how 2025 will be a year you surprise and shock yourself. What deck shall we go into? I'm going to go into my... I think it's called my Sacred Activations. I'm trying to maneuver my way around my microphone. So a lot of the attacks that have been going on this whole period, but especially recently, have been designed to try to keep you in that lower timeline by having you emotionally committed to the old story, right? And you know, just like Scorpio can be used very powerfully to help us to jump and to rise and to alchemize, it can also be utilized in its shadow to get us stuck in emotional energies and frequencies. This is why there's a lot of spell work that occurs. Halloween happens in Scorpio season. A lot of fuckery happens in that period of time. Okay, so beautiful. Divine Feminine has come out at the bottom. The number 21 card, which is a number 3 energy, which is another big energy that's been coming through, especially towards the end of the year. I was getting a lot of 33. Okay, I was saying a lot of 33333 energy. And when I see that, that always speaks to me of ascended mastery. And we are wrapping up a story, or we are wrapping up a 19-month cycle that has been introducing us into our ascended mastery while the North Node was in Aries. Because Aries is the sign of the zodiac that reconnects us with our divine mind and our divine identity. Our ascended truth comes through our Aries energy, our ability to recognize who we really are and to align our mind with that truth is Aries energy, and that's your ascendant in your astrology. So with the North Node in Aries, it's been challenging us all to rise into our ascended energy, our ascended mastery, our ascended wisdom, our ascended truth, and our ascended powers. And as the nodes move back into that 0 degree point, we are entering into another portal where we're able to timeline jump further, quantum leap into the truth of who we are. For as long as our minds, our thoughts match our reality, and we're able to clear the emotional densities that would want to push that truth out of our fields again, which is why everything that they're doing right now is designed to mess with us emotionally. I don't know about you, but that's been my experience. It's been a lot of petty energy. You know how when things, like little things just keep on adding up to get in your way, how over time it can become more detrimental than one big event. It's almost like I've seen I was experiencing the energy like that a lot around New Year's Eve and Christmas Eve. But then I was also having these big rushes of death energy entering into my fields. And, for all intensive purposes, I am in a war zone. I'm in a psychic war zone right now that I'm extricating myself from. But even with that being said, the way that I discern energy and the way that I work, I know that a lot of what I'm going through is also, I'm going through it in order to be able to relay these messages to the collective. Okay, so, another thing I wanted to say, I did want to mention this. We'll come back to this Divine Feminine card. There was a lot of craziness on New Year's Eve. I don't know if y'all tuned into that energy, but there was a lot of craziness, let's put it that way. And a lot of weird stuff happening. And I felt it. I felt it happen initially. I felt something come in. I felt a presence trying to watch me. But it was more than a monitoring spirit. It was almost like an off-planet energy that was, I'm just going to leave it at that, okay? And so I was very aware of its presence. I pushed it out and it kept on trying to come back in. And then it started to mess with my technology, and I've tried to write Daily Alchemy ahead of time, and I was really good at that until all the fuckery occurred with my Stripe and Substack, which put me into a burnout, and I had to rest. And so I utilized all the daily alchemies I'd written ahead of time, but then I got to a space in December where I had to begin to write again and start to catch up. So I say all of that because it was New Year's Eve. I'd gone into the app that I use, it's Canva, to create my daily alchemy slides, and I went in there and all of my January slides had been erased. And granted, I'd only done a few days worth, but that was still all of my work gone. So I'd gone in so that I could schedule the posting for New Year's morning on YouTube and through Solara.xyz. And I had no access, so I had to sit down and write a new one for January the 1st, even though I'd had a whole bunch of them. And then I had to sit down the next day and the days after and catch up with what had been stolen from me. And I will say stolen because it did happen. Another thing happened on New Year's Eve was I created a video for a client that just went missing, and someone else I was speaking to had the same thing happen. And so I was just like, their worst nightmare is us beginning to put the pieces together and figure shit out. And the programming that the ways our minds have been shrunk and the ways we've been programmed have been in order to make us not be able to see the things that are really happening behind the scenes, because the things that are really happening behind the scenes are the things that all of their programs told us weren't possible. But I get downloads about these things, and I actually trust my intuition more than I trust the false matrix and her fucked up programs. So what I began to realize was that off-planet energy that had entered into my fields was actually connecting with my technology and telepathically erasing things. Now, I know that sounds so out there. It sounds crazy, right? Of course it sounds crazy, because it's out of the realms of the programming of what we've been told is possible. And when I first began to think it, I thought I was crazy too. And then I realized, no, this is what they wanted us to do. They wanted us to always revert back to thinking we were crazy, so we'd go back in the box where they could continue to do this shit and hide it from us. And so I said, I was on the phone with someone when I figured this out. I said, fuck this. I'm going to say it for what it is. This is what I'm intuiting. This is what I'm picking up. This is what the fuck it is. And so therefore, the minute you see how it is they're doing things is the minute they're exposed, okay? And the minute they're exposed and they're doing things that are a breach on universal law is the minute you can use that very energy to pull in the opposite effect of what they're doing too. And this is why they didn't want you seeing or knowing what it was they were doing, because once you're keyed in to the power of what they're doing, you can utilize that same information not only to call karmic justice on their ass, but to call restitution on your behalf in the form of the opposite of what it was they were doing, utilizing the same energy. I hope that makes sense, okay? But I say that because that was the first instance of fuckery on New Year's Eve. And then I realized, because I don't celebrate these things. I don't celebrate Christmas at this point. I celebrate New Year's Eve, not traditionally. And so I'm chilling in bed, like watching a movie, and I hear the fireworks and everything. And I've noticed that it's very, very foggy. I live in London. That might not be a weird thing for thick fog, but it felt weird. And I don't go by what these fuckers try to make me see with my eyes. I go by how I fucking feel, okay? And what it is I'm discerning and intuiting from the messages I'm getting. And I was just like, something ain't right tonight. And so when the fireworks ended, I could still feel this like loudness in the sky. And you could say, oh, that's the aftermath, the noise pollution from the firework. No, it wasn't. And then on top of it, it started to storm here. And I was on the phone with someone else on the other side of the world. And at the same time, it's storming where they are too. And I'm like, something ain't right. And a few days later, I said to this person on the phone, I said, you know what this feels like? I said, it feels like there's something going on in the skies that they don't want us paying attention to. And they're utilizing the power of these fireworks to silence what's actually going on. And they're also using the fog and the storm as a smoke screen for what is actually happening. Because when I tuned in, what I actually felt was like, there was a battle going on in the skies. And if the skies had been cleared, we might have seen, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say it because, unidentified objects You know, they've been talking about them a lot and calling them drones and shit. Anyway, if we could have cleared back the fog and they'd silenced the noise that they were using, the fog and the noise, to cover up what was actually going on, and the fact that the majority of people, not the majority of people, but a good chunk of the population was drunk, drunk and partying, you know, which, you know, whatever. Either way, there were a lot of distraction tactics. And then I spoke to other clients who were in different parts of the world. Everyone's scattered around the world, but everyone is having a storm on New Year's Eve. Everywhere when I speak to, they're having a storm on New Year's Eve in certain regions of the world. And then a few days later, I see that the Washington Monument, the One World Trade Center, and the Empire State Building were all allegedly struck by lightning on New Year's Eve too. Or on New Year's morning, whatever time it occurred, you know, that night. So clearly there was a storm happening in Washington and New York also. But the lightning, did you see how it looked? Have you seen those pictures? So there was a lot of fuckery and craziness going on, but it also felt like, it feels very desperate. It feels very fucking desperate, like, it's not even like this energy is on its last legs. This energy is like collapsed on the floor. It's like what I'm seeing right now. You know, in those movies where they shoot the villain and the villain's dead and the villain's like dying and bleeding out, but they're just so full of fucking hatred and vitriol that they grab the gun and they shoot the person in the foot just to like, you know, fuck with them, so that it's like, you know, it messes with their ability to just move forward. You know what I mean? Like they have no energy to actually aim the gun to kill the person, but they're going to shoot them in the foot just to fuck with them. That's the fucking energy I've been feeling, like, you know, like through this New Year window. So, Divine Feminine is what came out, because we were talking about the presence of the number 3, and 21 breaks down to 3. 21 is also in the tarot, the world card, so this speaks of the ending of a grand cycle. The Divine Feminine, 1919 on my clock as I say that. The Divine Feminine energy has been rising back into her rightful position, and as she rises back into her rightful position, the Divine Masculine energy rises with her. I don't know about you, but recently I've been feeling, especially with the shift of Mars going retrograding in Leo and entering into Cancer, I've been feeling this very rageful energy rising, like the wrath of the Divine Mother rising, and the dark feminine rising. And the dark feminine is rising in a way where all of the ways her children were abused and kept in lies and mistreated and misinformed in order that they wouldn't thrive, like she's pissed. And the way that, you know, I'm feeling it on an internal level, and I've been talking to other people, and everyone's experiencing it in different ways, is that a lot of like the ways I was hurt and harmed intentionally as a child to stymie me and to break me and to limit me, I've already seen all of this stuff, but I'm beginning to really connect with my righteous indignation over it. And when Mars moves through Leo and Cancer, especially in a retrograde energy, that's what he pulls up. You know, that anger, that righteous anger at the abuse structures that harm innocence. That's the Leo energy. You know, when Mars moves through Leo and through Pisces, but especially through Leo and Cancer together, because it's about the divine, it's about the father and the mother wounds that have incited such intense self-destruction. You know, and so I've been like really battling, because like I said, I was a late diagnosed autistic, and my whole life I was made to feel like, for one thing, there was something wrong with me, and like the things that I connected with, because I felt everything so intensely, my pain was never taken seriously. My pain was never taken seriously. And as I learned more about like neurodivergence and, you know, my own autism, my own ADHD, as I learn about more of these things, and I realize how my own pain and my own emotionality and my own beauty and strength was weaponized against me as a child. That is like waking up this wrath in me, a wrath not only for my inner child, but for the inner children of all of us that have had to suffer through that. And it's all because of the false matrix and her programs. The false matrix was a derelict, neglectful, karmic, narcissistic Jezebel mother who taught other mothers to be that way and to do those things to their own children because it was done to them. And in this way, we were made to feel like we were orphans in the actual inheritance that belonged to us. And Cancer is that energy of the Divine Mother. And with Mars in Cancer in retrograde, it's like she is like scratching at these things to wake up the righteous indignation in us too, because there's power in that energy to take back what actually fucking belongs to us and should have never been taken from us to begin with, and should have never been fucking weaponized against us. So I was just writing yesterday in my in a section that I write on my platform, Solara.xyz. I'll either write 5 days a week. I do a long form piece on the energies that I'm feeling, experiencing in the collective, and how I'm kind of sometimes relating with them on a personal level. And I do like either sunrise salutations, where it's first thing in the morning, or I'll write a moonrise musing, depending on how the energy is flowing for me in my own schedule and my own creativity. And so yesterday's moonrise musing was all about this Mars in Cancer retrograde energy, and how it was like activated all the more when the moon was in Pisces over the weekend, when Mars entered into Cancer, and how it's putting an end to all the ways that we were abused into silence, and those toxic shame structures and the behaviors that were born from it in order to keep abusers comfortable. So in order to keep abusers comfortable, we were taught to people please. We were taught to fawn. We were taught to be in denial of what it was we were actually going through. We were taught to act as if our pain didn't matter. We were taught to act as if our pain wasn't there, because they didn't want the evidence of their nastiness and their monstrosity and their lack of humanity. And so instead of taking ownership for the ways that they were being monsters, they victimized people and then made the victims feel like they should shut up and they should actually apologize to them in some way for the ways that the pain that they've inflicted upon them begins to manifest. Right? So for me, after all of that crap I went through as a child, I developed what they would call depression. Right? And really it was because I was constantly going through a lot of stuff, because I was bullied and abused and I was a child and I couldn't articulate it. And if I did articulate it, I'd get in trouble. Right? And so then you start to feel hopeless and helpless, and you take on this whole depression thing. And so, and then, you know, like for me, because of it, I was made to feel ashamed that I'd be in that state, when it was those very beings that were making me feel ashamed of my depression in my teenage years. They were the ones who had enacted it towards me as a child. So that's what abusers will do. They will abuse you, and then they will shame you for manifesting any form of their abuse. I'm going to say it again. Abusers will abuse you, and then they will shame you for manifesting any representation of their abuse. And so they will then groom you into all manner of ways so they don't have to face themselves. People pleasing, fawning, denial, making you apologize for shit that you didn't do. Making you, imputing the guilt that they should have for their nastiness onto you instead. And you being an open vessel to take it because you've already been shamed into believing that's what you deserve. And this is what the Divine Mother is rising up right now in her righteous indignation that is being helped by that Mars energy. That is, it's bringing it up in all of us. It's bringing it up so we enact justice for our own inner children, but it's bringing it up so we enact justice for all of the innocence that's been lost and sacrificed for the sake of the fuckery of this false matrix. And this is what's going to be one of the final, what's it called? The final nail in the coffin that buries this age altogether. And this is why they want that Psy-Op, that love and light Psy-Op in the spiritual community going also. Because that love and light Psy-Op stops us from actually being able to access the shadow energies that are here to rise up in us and protect us from that fuckery. That if those shadow energies had been present in us to begin with and had been present in those who were meant to protect us to begin with, we would not have been so sorely and habitually and ritually abused and sacrificed for the perpetuation of this fucked up false system. Change is here. Look at this. So I don't know if you can see that 12. So we got 12 and 21. There we go, 3-3 energy. 12 is another number that speaks of the ending of a cycle. On the wheel, the ending of the cycle is the 12, right? So the final sign of the zodiac is Pisces. That's the 12th house. You know, so when you look at a clock, when you get to the number 12, you break into another hour, right? Or you break into another minute. Cycles begin and end at the number 12 too. And not for nothing, the 12 is the hanged one in the tarot. And that's the inversion. You know, so change, this is when things start to come back into the material representation of what is true and what is real. And it will be because of you. It will be because of people like you and me who wouldn't take that shit lying down anymore, who wouldn't live the lie and take the abuse. And this is a year where we definitely aren't doing that shit anymore. We're not going to sit down and lie down and pretend that shit ain't happening. We're not going to try to be anything less than who we are to appease beings who are uncomfortable with being who they are. Let them be fucking uncomfortable, because that discomfort in self is what initiates change so that they can ascend and rise too. There's a reason why abusers are supposed to feel bad when they fucking abuse. It's so they fucking do better. And now it's time for people in the world to do better. And you and I have made it possible. And we're continuing to make it possible, because when you take a stand for yourself and for what is right and just and true, you are pushing the collective consciousness to do the same. And this is what 2025 is about, because for this energy has been growing. It's been affecting you. You've been seeing it in spurts, you know, in your reality, but it's about to become a collective and a global truth. Okay. Whew. I'm going to take a bit of a break to calm down before I go into the tarot. Oh, I'm going to ground a little bit, drinking something. I'm going to take the time to do my announcements because I forgot to do them before. So just quickly, This Sunday, January the 12th, is going to be my first group session of the year. I actually moved it to the 12th because a lot of people wanted to make it on the 5th but couldn't, so I just pulled it and have rescheduled it for Sunday, January the 12th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. UK time. It's a 3-hour event. 7 seats are available, and the topic for the group time together is getting on track for 2025. Okay, so we'll come together, we'll pull cards, we'll do a little bit of meditating together, we will set goals together, we will talk, we will overcome some of the densities that are preventing us from moving forward. It's going to be hopefully a beautiful time of intimacy. So if that is speaking to you and you are able to join, that's wonderful. There will be other opportunities for group sessions this year if you can't make it. So there are 7 seats available for this Sunday. I've just listed my accountability partnership coaching program. That's for the whole year. So there are only 5 seats available for that. I will be working with those 5 individuals on a one-to-one basis, 2 meetings a month via video chat, Telegram access in between, as well as vision board organizing and working with quantum meditation, all manner of things to make sure that 2025 is the year where you utilize this power of the number 9 to rise into your power and create the foundations that you desire for this next cycle. So I've also listed the slots for my January availability for one-to-ones for soul recovery. So there are 12 60-minute slots available for the month of January and 8 90-minute slots available for the month of January. All of this is on Ko-Fi. I will put the information in the description box below in the comments. And please make sure, if you haven't already and you would like to make sure to join Daily Alchemy for free over on SOLARAH.xyz. For all of you who are receiving Daily Alchemy, you will get a 25% discount on all saleable merchandise on my Ko-Fi. Okay, so that includes the group sessions, the soul recovery sessions. If you are a Daily Alchemy member, which is a free access on my platform, then you, until January the 25th, will get 25% off all merchandise or anything, all saleable things on my Ko-Fi. So obviously, there are things there where it's just donation based, but the things with set prices, in other words, will all be 25% off. You will get a special discount code. So for those of you who receive Daily Alchemy, you will see that coming through with your Daily Alchemy every morning. So yes, please stay tuned for more information about the things that are coming up on the site. And yes, let's get back into this. I'm feeling, still feisty. I'm still feisty, but I'm calmer. I'm doing my usual 4-card spread. At the bottom of the deck, we do have the 3 of Swords, which is Libran energy. That is the 10 to 19 degree of Libra, 2nd decan of Libra. Okay, so Libra is, of course, connected to your justice timelines. There may be, something to look at from Libra season of significance. So the 10 to 19 degrees of Libra would have been around October the 2nd to maybe the 12th, 13th, give or take a day or two on either side. The first week and a couple of days of October would have been this decan last year. So you might want to think back to what was going on then. That was around the 1010 portal. The 1010 portal would have occurred in this energy too. Okay, so overarching theme, the 2 of Cups, which is Cancer energy, more cardinal energy, challenge. the Fool. What you need to be paying more attention to. The Two of Coins. The Two of Coins. And guidance. Beautiful. Page of Cups. So this is moving into a little bit, more of a, a guidance energy and message, okay, for how to utilize this energy for some of you and what it's here to help do. Okay, so like I said, some of you are going to want to look into what was going on in the first few days, week and a half of October. The Two of Cups is Cancerian energy. It's the first decan of Cancer, 0 to 9 degrees of Cancer. So that would have been the end of June last year, all the way to the first day or so, first or second day of July, which I know the full moon in Capricorn, the first full moon of Capricorn occurred around that time last year. Then we have the Fool, which is Aquarian energy. And it's the only major arcana we have here. It's in the challenge position. And then in the what you need to be paying more attention to is the Two of Coins, and finally guidance, Page of Cups. So the Two of Coins is Capricorn energy. It's the first decan of Capricorn, 0 to 9 degrees. So we are presently in the second decan. So the first decan, in other words, is around the Christmas season. Okay, so protecting your heart right now, protecting your right and your sensibility, protecting your sensibility and your right to love and to be loved is going to be a theme and going to be important. And like I was saying, my Moonrise Musing yesterday, that was what it was about too. That was the overarching message that was coming through. Is, you are lovable. You have a right to be loved. And so many of you, so many of us were made to feel as children like it was a burden to love us. And we have carried that into adulthood where we have believed it is a burden for others to love us. And we have manifested relationships like that based upon the wounding in our emotional fields that would magnetize other beings, other predators. I was having a conversation with someone this morning, and I was talking to them about this, and that nature of how when the first predators in your life are your own family, it grooms you into attracting and magnetizing predatory behavior until you rise into your value enough and you see that you are worthy of more, and that it's not actually your truth, it's just what the original predators programmed you into. And so right now, a lot of that energy is it's coming apart in a very, very, I don't know how to explain it. We've been doing so much of this work of unraveling, and they're showing me, like, I don't know how many of you knit or crochet, but if you knit or crochet, then you know that there's like this, crochet, I don't know, I don't knit, I crochet, so I don't know, but most like crochet, especially if you're doing like a blanket by a line, right? It always begins with a loop structure that then you can begin to utilize that loop structure to create the stitch, right? And in all frankness, it's all forms of crochet. Even when you do like a granny square, and it begins with a loop structure that you then begin to form a stitch from, a loop structure, right? So when you're looking at a big blanket, I've been working on a blanket for about 3 years that I haven't touched in about a year, but it's like a big blanket, and there are many rows of stitching, but all of that stitching is being held on one original loop structure that I created, right? So I feel like we've been unraveling the lines of stitching, over the past few years. The healing has been unraveling the lines of stitching, and now we're getting to the loop structure, and we're pulling out the loops. It's like the final part of the foundation of what all of these cycles and programs and lies were built upon. It's like it's just coming undone, like we're pulling the thread, right? And that's what it's felt like in my fields, like, because, you know, this story I'm sharing with you, it's nothing new if you've been hanging with me for a minute. Like, I share these stories with you guys, like, and it's definitely nothing new for me, because I've been doing this work for as long as I remember. I've been healing myself, because for one thing, you know, when you grow up in a family and you're preyed upon and you're a scapegoat, then you are always made to feel like you're a problem. And when you believe as a child you're a problem, you're always looking for the solution to fix yourself. And, you know, like, so I've been dealing with, you know, dismantling this for a while, because for a very long time, I was going at my healing as if I needed to fix myself, as opposed to wake up to who I am and clear out this shit. And so when my healing shifted and I stopped trying to fix myself, and I realized that intrinsically there's absolutely nothing wrong with me, the thing that is actually wrong in my reality is all of the lies and the deception and the programs that my predators had purposely put me into certain cognitive states to take advantage of me. Right? So when I began to know that, then I began to dismantle and to take out the stitching. And that's been a long process, because, you know, if you're doing a big blanket, and if you're doing like a tiny stitch, for example, that's rows upon 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 rows, you get it, of work, right? So it takes, healing happens in concentric circles. It's like the peeling away of an onion, or the circles on a tree, on the bark of a tree. Once you break through one circle, then you're met with another one. Then you're met with another one, until you get to the core and the foundation upon which all those circles were growing out from. Right? So 2024 was all about getting to that core concentric circle to begin to connect with the original matrix of our destruction. And now we're fucking burning that shit down. We're burning it down. We're taking the loops out. We're chopping it up. We're doing whatever the fuck we have to do with that energy, that foundational matrix that was created within us to sustain cycles of suffering and self-rejection. And so for me, I felt it viscerally. I felt the anger rise up, and then the anger turned to grief. And then I was able to clear it out through crying. And as I cried and I let it out, and I let my inner child know that she never fucking deserved to be treated that way. Never. And I was a good child. I was a really good child. I was a quiet child. You know, like everyone has, you know, their flaws. But I wasn't a naughty kid. You get what I'm saying? And I began to see my inner child as she truly was, as opposed to the nuisance that other beings wanted to make me out as being, and that I've been carrying for 42 years. And I relinquished that story of being a nuisance, of being a burden, of being unworthy. And I relinquished it from my body. And I felt it leave my nervous system as I cried it out, you know? So this is what's happening for many of us right now. And it's going to continue to leave as we rise into relationships and situations where we actually begin to see a true mirror of who we are. Because for so long, when you've been preyed upon as a child and you've been groomed by predatory behaviors or predatory people that wanted to keep you open to being preyed upon in your formative years, that energy gets stored in your emotional body, and it begins to be what it is that you attract, quote unquote, into your reality, not consciously, because don't nobody want that shit for real. But that's what your emotional fields, because of all the trauma, has been programmed into. And so you're never actually inviting people into your fields at that point who are even capable of being a true mirror to you, who are capable of reflecting back to you your beauty, your glory, your honor, because they're predatory in nature, and what they want to do is keep you small so they can control your narrative and your image too. And we're letting that go. And as you see truer reflections of who you are through higher relationships, first and foremost, that relationship with yourself, that energy is leaving, and the heart armor is also falling. The heart armor that has been that energy within the heart sphere that, instead of magnetizing what you deserved, kept pushing it out as if you weren't worthy of it. Because of the programming, not the truth, but the programming, that heart armor is starting to fall too. It's starting to fall too. So the challenge is trusting this process, the Fool, and moving forward in it. And when I say trusting this process, like, it's time for many of you to take a leap into places where you were told you couldn't go. You were told you couldn't go because you didn't have what it took. You weren't this enough or that enough. And that was a fucking lie. That was what those predatory energies wanted you to believe, so that they could continue to prey upon you. And so they had to have you believing that narrative and that story to stop you from going into those places. Because once you get into those places, you are no longer fodder for their fuckery. So it's time for you to leap and to take and to step into those places where you've always belonged, but you were lied to and told that you shouldn't and you couldn't and you wouldn't have access. And that was the lie. That was the ultimate lie. This Sagittarius energy is giving you your passport back to the places you always should have had access to before the abuse and the predator structures of the false matrix tried to bamboozle you into thinking that you shouldn't and you couldn't and you wouldn't and you didn't. And that's a motherfucking lie. What you need to focus on: building a new reality, a new material reality, creating new material timelines that are rooted in the truth of who you are, as opposed to the old stories that you were programmed into. You know, and this takes a lot of conscientious work to move away from something that seems more real to you than the truth of who you are. And it seems more real to you than the truth of who you are because you've been purposely programmed into that state, and you've been creating out of that state because you thought it was your truth and all that was available to you and all that was possible. But like I said before, 2025 will be a year that you surprise and shock yourself, because a lot of the things that you never thought you could be, a lot of the goals that you never thought you could attain, a lot of the places that you were told you didn't belong and you could never go, you are burning down corridors, you are blasting open windows and doors, you are arriving in those places, and you are daring these energies in that divine feminine power. You are daring them to tell you to leave your own property, to leave your own territory and your own turf. Because Sagittarius energy is all about the true boundaries that are supposed to be established on the earth planes based upon the frequencies that are organically your divine truth. What do I mean by that? I mean that many of you have been living in this low-ass frequency that doesn't match who you are in truth. And here's the thing. There are beings that have a low vibration, and that's where they belong. And beings who have a low vibration and are of a lower consciousness, in that state, they will not suffer because they are in the right place. But when you take a high frequency being and you compress their energy into a low vibrational reality, it creates a lot of suffering. It creates a lot of suffering, right? So, like this is the year where you're able to rise back into the truth of who you are frequentially. And when you are in alignment with your organic truth and the matching timelines, then you naturally have access to these places that you would look at and you would desire to go to. Please don't get it twisted. Any desire that you have that is pure, it's because it's something that connects to your soul. In other words, if you have a desire to be something, that's probably because you already have the propensity and the ability to be that and to do that. But the false matrix abuse programs through systems, family, social structures, however you want to look at it, programmed you to think that that was so out of sight. And so you perpetually suffer and struggle because you think you have to reach for something which already belongs to you. You think you have to work and earn and strive for something that already rightfully belongs to you. Right? So as you rise into your true frequency, those things just naturally gravitate toward you. You never had to work. This was one of the biggest Ponzi schemes that they ran in the false matrix to keep you enslaved, to make you believe that you had to work and to do things to earn your rite of passage. You didn't. All you had to do was rise into the frequency of who you actually are, and every single door, window, gate that needs to open to bring you everything you need to live in the fullness of that power automatically does that. Right? So they wanted you striving because it creates more suffering, it creates more struggle, it creates more pain, it creates more trauma, it creates more emotional stagnancy that keeps you from rising into the truth of your frequency, because the rising into the frequency is the expansion of the emotional body. Now, in the guidance position, we have the Page of Cups. Speak your heart. It's time to speak. It's time to speak. It's time to speak on those things that you were silenced. I'm on Threads on Instagram. It's actually one of my favorite social media places to be on right now, even if I don't participate on it that much. Like I'll post something every now and again. I do more reposting on Threads than anything because I love people's rawness on Threads, and it's all just, it's devoid of the Instagram fuckery that's on the main app, which I don't really go on to, but I like Threads. And one thread I saw recently was a woman was saying, and I've heard this said in different ways, she was saying, I suffered in silence, and so I'm choosing to heal loudly. And so many of us suffered in silence because, again, that bullying, predatory, abusive energy that many of us were programmed by and into did not have the balls to be able to see itself for what it was. And so because it was such a weak fucking energy, the people who are bullies are weak fucking people. Right? They're weak people. They're weak because not only do they feel in order to feel more powerful, they have to hurt other people. Not only that, but they can't even own up to the shit they do. So not only do they hurt and victimize people, they then victim shame people because they can't face up to what they've done. They're some of the weakest fuckers on the planet, period. And so in that position, many beings who are perpetually in that position of being victimized by these energies, especially from a young age as children, when you don't have a voice and these assholes are supposed to be the ones that are protecting you, right? That's when you move into these energies of people pleasing, of fawning, of denial, of repression, of creating narratives that appease the abuser and denigrate yourself and your truth instead of being able to speak. There's power in speaking. There's power in sharing your story. There's power in saying what was done to you. It's part of the fucking healing process. And this is what they don't want you to do. Not only do they not want you to heal, they don't want you to heal because then you're no longer their target, but they also don't want you to heal because when you heal, you out them. You out them. And this is why beings who are too fucking weak to take accountability through self-awareness put themselves in a position where they need to be outed. It's not on you, and it never should have been on you to carry the burden of being abused, of being shamed, and then of having to keep an abuser's secret. Fuck that. The Page of Cups. Speak your heart. Speak your truth. Speak on behalf of the little you that couldn't defend herself or himself or themselves. And it's time for us, especially as adults, to do that for all children and all innocents. The innocent beings on this planet are some of the energies that keep us the most connected to Source. This is why they wanted them destroyed. We're here to protect the innocence. And we do that first and foremost by protecting our own and then fiercely protecting those that we have authority over. That's the proper use of authority, is to protect the innocent, not to exploit them. So this guidance is here. Protect your innocence. Protect the innocent. This is the only way to restore proper human relationships. The world is full of fallen humans. You want to talk about fallen angels? This earth is full of fallen humans. People who've fucking forgotten their own humanity. How is it that a mother and a father, a sister and a brother can abuse one of their own and never take any fucking accountability for it? That's a lack of humanity. That's not even a lack of godliness. That's a fucking lack of humanity. The lack of humanity that has been instilled in this planet through the false matrix and her fucked up programs and agendas must now be purged and cleared completely. There is no accessing New Earth timelines without first coming back home to our humanity. That's what the Age of Aquarius is about. Humanitarianism isn't about going out there and feeding the homeless. Oh, look at me, I'm so good, I fed the homeless. No, can you go and sit down with a homeless person and talk to them and give them a hug and be a fucking human to them and not look down upon them as if that person isn't your reflection too? The lack of humanity on this planet by beings who present themselves as being humans is a fucking travesty. And now I'm going to get off my soapbox. Whew. Okay. That's all I've got to say. That's all I've got to say. That's all I've got to say. Okay. Thank you so much for chilling with me. I hope that this reading, this talk, this sharing of downloads, and even the expression of my own righteous indignation helps you to clear and purge some of your own wounds, I hope that it helps you to find ways to rise into your own justice timelines through taking back what always belonged to you in a myriad of ways. You know, so yeah. If you would like to work with me, if you would like to avail yourselves of those slots in January, the information will be below. If you want to join me for the accountability partnership coaching one-to-one this year, then you can do that too. I'll put all the information for that below. If you would like the other readings I do divine alignment readings and I do Tarotstrology readings, and all of that information will be on my site, solara.info, and I will put all links and information below. And I look forward to hopefully connecting with some of you this Sunday, January the 12th, and I will be back again with more downloads and ranting. I'll see you again soon. I love you guys. Take care.